Okay now folks, I have hit the road and I have left behind Sankalpa and Masi, which was Brahma, Prajapati, Gautami, Sangrama, Vihara, and I have left Persona, which is Sudatta's home. Now I am traveling south from Prasad. I am traveling south towards the Jetavan. Now Jetavan is the Buddhists, they know it as Jetavan. The actual name is Galkara and Sitaram. So basically, folks, give me the best of luck. I am going searching for high ground which this Anathapindada. Actually, it's Annadatta. Annadatta is the person who gives a lot of food and helps the hungry and helps the sick. So he is Annadatta, means he is the one who supplies the food. So we are going towards Jetavan, which Anathapindada bought with gold for the Buddha. And folks, this is a very important place because the Buddhists, they know it as Jeta Rama or Jetavan. It is actually the Gandha Kuti's real name is Galkara, and the portion which that Jeta gave, that is Sita. Huen Tsang calls it C2UN, and on the ground you see it's Sitaram, Pure Sitaram and Galkara. Galkara is your Gandha Kuti. It has the same meaning, folks. See, let's check out what I have to see and then in satellite pictures. Now, I have shown you all these places. See, Zhang takes us very systematically from Garethi to the stupa, under which is the preaching wall which King Pasenadi made for the Buddha, that is Sigyan Sirpur, and then south of that is Masi, which is the Sangrama King Pasenadi made for the Buddha's aunt Mahaprajapati Gautami. And then east of that is Persona, which is your Sudatta's home. And then east of that is your Sankalpa Stupa, which is the stupa identifying the spot where Daku Angulimal attacked the Buddha and the Buddha converted him. Now Zhang takes us 5 or 6 li to the south, that means around 1.5 kilometers to the south of the chief city. That is, the chief city is Garethi or Prasad. Prasad is in the name of King Pasenadi. Pasenadi is a mispronunciation of Prasad. So basically that is the Jetavan. Now Zhang tells the story of how Sudatta, Anathapindada is actually Annadatta, mispronounced by Buddhists as Anathapindada. Now, Annadatta means a person who feeds people, and that was the habit of the Prime Minister of King Pasenadi. So, he invites, Sudatta invites the Buddha. Actually, his name is Sohna. Invites the Buddha, and he wants to, he is searching for a proper location where he can put up the Buddha. And what happens is, he sees this high ground, and he sees it's perfect for the Buddha. So he goes and he tells, goes to the prince who had made this high ground, and he tells the prince that he wanted that plot for the Buddha. So the prince, he in a very haughty manner says, okay, if you can cover the ground with gold, I will sell it to you. Sudatta is very happy. He goes and he opens all his treasury and he takes out all the gold and he covers the ground. And see, that is why his name is actually, it's not Sudatta, it is Sona, mispronounced by Buddhists as Sudatta. Sona means gold. Now, he lays the ground with gold, but there is a small area left. But seeing his willingness to spend so much gold to buy for the Buddha, the prince, he gets a change of mind. And he gets a change of mind and he, decides to give that portion which was not covered with gold to the Buddha. So basically now the Buddhists, the British historians again have taken, Gandha Kuti and Kosamba somewhere in Mahit area. They found a building called Gandha Kuti and found a building called Kosamba. No, that is all rubbish. Huen Tsang calls it Kikuto. Huen Tsang calls it Kikuto, and Kikuto is Galkara. It's south of Prasad, it's south of Garethi, whichever is the chief city. So Galkara and Gandha Kuti have the same meaning. So I think, the British thought, see, Gandha Kuti is not the local language. Is not the local language. Gandha Kuti is Sanskrit. But these are, local names. This is Galkara. Galkara has the same meaning of Gandha Kuti. It means sent because of all the incense that burnt in the place where the Buddha stayed. And when Huen Tsang went to the place, he saw it was dilapidated with just a few, a few people living there. All the Brahmins' quarters were, in ruins, except for one brick building. And that brick building was the place where the Buddha stayed. Now, what happened was, according to Buddhist texts, when the Buddha went to preach to his dead mother in Traya Sima heaven or something like that, when he went to preach to his dead mother, the king had heard that the king of Oriana, of Urain, had made a sandalwood statue of the Buddha. So he got one made himself and put it in that brick structure. So you have a seated sandalwood statue of the Buddha there. Now, and then Zhang saw, east, or on the eastern gate, both sides of the eastern gates, there were pillars 70 feet high. One had a wheel and the other had an oxen on top. Now, basically, I have shown you pictures of the Jetavan. It's not Jetavan, it's Jeta Rama. It's Sita Rama. Zhang calls the Jetavan C2UN. C2UN, and on the ground next to Galkara, which is Zhang's Kikuto, is Sita Ram. See, the Buddha was very particular on the names of the places. And so what happened was, Galkara was the place where your Sudatta bought, and C2UN was the place which was given by that haughty prince who accepted the gold. So the Buddha says that it will, both the names will stay, Galkara state and C2UN. Now C2UN, the Buddhists have translated it as Jetavan. And if you read Buddhist texts, the other name of Jetavan is Jetarama. Jetarama, not Jetavan. And on the ground it is Sitaram. C2UN Sitaram. C2UN Sitaram. So folks, check out what Zhang has to say about the Jetavan, C2UN Sitaram, and what he has to say, what Wikipedia or Buddhist text has to say about Jetavan. In Buddhist texts, they say the other name for Jetavan was Jeta Rama. So you have the name Rama, but on the ground you have Zhang saying the name is C2UN, and on the ground you have Sita Rama. C2 is Sita. So folks, check out what Zhang has to say, and then I'll show you Jetavan in satellite pictures, and then you can see the pictures of the place itself, why it is called high ground, which the see. And it's very important that the Jetavan was on the banks of a very big lake. Jetavan was on the banks of the very big lake. So you have both Galkara and Sitaram, which is your Jetavan. Both Galkara, which is your Gandha Kuti, and Sitaram, which is your Jetavan, both are on the banks of huge lakes. So folks, check out what Zhang has to say. Let's see where Zhang takes us after Sankalpa Stupa. See, here it is. To the south of the city, 5 or 6 li, to the south of the city will be King Prasenajita's palace. 5 or 6 li is the Jetavan. This is where Anathapindada Kikutu, otherwise called Sudatta, the chief minister of Prasenajita Raja, built up for Buddha vihara. There was a Sangrama here formerly, but now all is in ruins. Now, where is this Sangrama? Kikuto. The Jetavan is actually Kikuto. See, Huen Tsang first shows us Gareti, which has been translated as Shravasti. And then he showed us Sigyan Sirpur, where the Buddha preached gave a preaching hall to where King Prasenajita gave a preaching hall to the Buddha. And then you have Masi, he showed us Masi, which was Mahaprajapati Gautami's vihara, which King Prasenajita made for her. And then you had Persona, Zhang showed us Persona, that is Sudatta's home. Sona, because he bought Jetavan with gold. And then you have Sankalpa. This is the place, Sankalpa means promise, where Angulimal attacked the Buddha stood his ground and changed the character of Angulimal. He made this promise. See, Zhang shows us all that, and then he goes south. From all that, Sigyan Sirpur, Persona, Sankalpa, he goes south to Galkara. See, let's go to Siyuki. To the south of the city, 5 or 6 li, is Jetavan. This is where Anathapindada Kikuto, or Sudatta, the chief minister of Prasenajita Raja, built for Buddha vihara. Now let's see where Kikuto is. This is Kikuto was the name of the Jetavan vihara. See, here is King Gareti, and here is yours. To the south, 5 or 6 li, is Kikuto. Kikuto is Galkara. So this is the Jetavan's real name. The Jetavan's real name. Now, the Jetavan was in two parts. The Jetavan was in two parts. Formerly, when the nobleman Sudatta was a man of humanity and talent. He had amassed great wealth and was liberal in its distribution. He succored the needy and destitute and the compassion on the orphan and helped the aged. During his lifetime, they called him Anathapindada. Now, I am surprised at our historians. Why have you taken this at face value? Anathapindada is not an Indian word, it sounds Indian. Anathapindada, why? Because he helped the aged and the orphan and the destitute and the children. The destitute, the aged and the orphans, he helped them. See, the Hindi word is Annadata, which you have mispronounced as Anathapindada. Well, these are all foreign Buddhist mispronunciations, but how did our historians accept this? Now, that is Annadata. So, Kikuto is Galkara, friend of the orphan. On account of his virtues, he, hearing the religious merit of the Buddha, conceived a deep reverence for him and vowed to build a vihara for him. See, this is your Kikuto, this is the vihara Anathapindada, or what do you call it, Annadata, made for the Buddha. That is, your Kikuto is Galkara. So folks, let's continue. And vowed, he therefore asked Buddha to condescend to come to receive it, to receive the Galkara. The Lord of the world commanded Sariputra to accompany him and said by his counsel, considering the garden of Jeta, Shitu Yuen. Now the garden of Jeta is called Shitu Yuen. The prince considered to be a proper site on account of its pleasant and upland position. See, it's upland position. See, that place is, on high ground. The Galkara is on high ground. They agreed to go to the prince to make known the circumstances of the case. The prince, in a jeering way, said, if you can cover the ground with gold, peace, I will sell it. So Sudatta, hearing it, was rejoiced. He immediately opened his treasuries with a view to comply with the agreement and cover the ground. There was yet a little space not filled. The prince asked him to desist, but he said, the field of Buddha is true. I must plant good seed on it. Then on the vacant spot of ground he raised a vihara. The Lord of the world forthwith addressed Anand and said, the ground of the garden is what Sudatta has bought. The trees are given by Jeta. See, we know him as Jeta, but he is actually Sita. Both of them, similarly minded, have acquired the utmost merit. From this time forth, let the place be called the Grove of Jeta. What is Jeta? Shito. And the garden of Anathapindada, Kikuto. So let's see, there are two names according to the Buddha, Kikuto and Shito. Let's see where Kikuto and Shito is. Kikuto is Galkara. And now let's enlarge this dot. Oh, this is Shito is Sitaram. Shito is Sitaram, folks. That is the name of your Jetavan. That is, Kikuto is Galkara and Shito is Jetaram. Kikuto is Galkara and Shito is, what do you call it? The Lord of the world forthwith addressed Anand and said, the ground of the garden towards Sudatta has bought, the trees are given by Jeta. Both of them, similarly minded, have acquired the utmost merit. From this time forth, let the place be called the grove of Jeta and the garden of Anathapindada Kikuto. So, Jeta is Shito. So, this is the name of your Jetavan. Shito is Sitaram. Now let's see Tibetan encyclopedia about Jetavan. See, the Tibetan encyclopedia says about the Jetavan here. In order that the names of both earlier and later owners might be recorded and the people might be reminded of two men, both very generous in the cause of the religion, so that others might, both earlier and later owners might be recorded and people might be reminded of two men, both very generous in the cause of the religion, so that others might follow their example. The vihara is sometimes referred to as Jeta Rama. So the word Rama is in the Tibetan encyclopedia. Jeta Rama, it's not Jetavan. Jeta Rama, but Huen Tsang calls it C2. And on the ground you have Sita Rama. That Sita has been mispronounced as Jeta. Sita has been mispronounced as Jeta, and this is your Kikuto, Galkara. So folks, this is your Jetavan. Now to prove this, see, on the left and right of the eastern gate has been built a pillar about 70 feet high. On the left and right on the eastern gate is a pillar of 70 feet high. On the left hand pillar is engraved on the base a wheel. On the right hand pillar, the figure of an ox on the top. See, on the left hand pillar is engraved on the base of a wheel. Now see, where is the wheel? See, this is Galkara, Pure Sitaram, and here we are. On the east is here. Bale is ox. So on the left, on the right pillar is an ox. On top of the pillar is an ox. And on the base is a wheel. Okay, folks, here we are. These are pictures of your famous Jetavan, which you all have misplaced. See, this is the famous Jetavan, which you all have misplaced as Sahit Mahit to prove that Shravasti is the real place. Folks, it's not Sahit Mahit, it is your Jetavan. See, nowhere in Buddhist texts, nowhere anywhere in ancient Buddhist texts is Sahit Mahit mentioned. And Sahit Mahit aren't new words, they are all ancient words. So that is Sahit Mahit is all rubbish. Now this is, folks, Jetavan. This is Anathapindada, that is Sudatta, the Prime Minister of King Prasenajita. When he heard the Buddha's preaching, he wanted to buy some, he invited him to stay in Shravasti, in Garethi. There was no place called Shravasti. In Garethi, and he invited him to stay, and for that he looked around for high ground. See, this is on the banks of the Ghaghra river and it's prone to flooding. So he looked around for high ground which would be good for the Buddha and his Sangha, which would make them comfortable. So he saw this high ground. It was owned by a person called Jeta Rama. Jeta Rama. Now in Buddhist text is Jeta Rama, but it seems to be a mispronunciation of Sita Ram, because on the ground the place's name is Sita Ram. Anyway, when he sees it, he asks the owner to give it to him, because he wanted to give it to the Buddha. But the owner says, very in a matter-of-fact manner, that if you can buy it by laying down, covering the entire plot with gold, I will sell it to you. So that's what Anathapindada does. He goes back home, opens his coffers, takes out all the gold, and he comes and he buys the plot. See, and he covers the plot with the gold, but one piece of plot is left empty, because the gold ran short. This Jetaram or Jeta, he is seeing the exuberance of Sudatta or Anathapindada in buying that plot with gold. He asked permission to donate the plot which wasn't covered with gold, where the gold was short. The gold wasn't enough to cover the entire plot. So the plot which wasn't covered, he decided to give it, for free in donation to the Buddha and the Sangha. So that is, the Buddha, he has a habit, whoever donates to him, he keeps it in that person's name, so that the following generations would know who gave it to him. So he says the plot which Anathapindada bought is Galkara. Huen Tsang calls it Kikuto, it is Galkara. In Buddhist text is Gandha Kuti. Gandha Kuti and Galkara have the same meaning, folks. Gandha Kuti and Galkara have the same meaning. So it is Galkara. Huen Tsang's Kikuto is Galkara. And your Jetaram is actually Sitaram. So Sitaram is the plot which Anathapindada failed to cover with gold. So Sitaram, that is the plot which this owner gave for free. He planted a lot of trees for the Buddha, which is why it is called Jetavan. He planted a lot of mango trees for the Buddha. And then, see, this place is very important, because out of his 45 years of Varsha, 45 Varsha Vasas, this Buddha spent 19 up here. Out of the 45 Varsha Vasas, Buddha spent 19 in this place. And he did two miracles, the great miracle and the twin miracle. And he lived here for 25 Varsha Vasas, out of which in Jetavan he lived for 19 Varsha Vasas out of 45. And up here in Garethi, he imparted 871 suttas in the 4 Nikayas. So, folks, this is your Jetavan. I hope you enjoyed this video. You enjoyed the pictures of the place. If you did so, please don't forget to like, follow and subscribe to my page or channel, Buddha Exhumed, and don't forget to tell your friends and relatives about this